Hi, welcome to Estel Technologies webinar on blockchain. And we have got a very special guest here who is Pankaj Mittal, and he is a specialist in blockchain and related technologies. Me and Pankaj are very great friends. We have been talking together for last few years on various technology and technology related aspects of things and blockchain and lots of other things to get together. So welcome Pankaj, welcome on board. Pankaj is also a virtual CIO for a couple of companies which are based in Europe and US, and he is consulting a lot of other companies also in this particular space. So welcome Pankaj, welcome to the webinar. And I would also like to introduce you to Ashok. Ashok is Global Sales and Business Development Lead for Estel Technologies, who will be asking questions to Pankaj. Over to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chandan, for having me here, and thank you. It's a pleasure to be here on this forum and talking to you folks.
Thanks, Pankaj, for giving us this opportunity to have a chat with you on how the cryptocurrencies is going to work, and then how that's going to be adapted into the fintech space. So thanks a lot for giving us this time slot to have a discussion on that.
Blockchain is all about cryptocurrencies, which it is not actually. Cryptocurrencies are a use case of a technology called as blockchain. Just like any other technologies, blockchain has been naive, but has been now progressing well. Let's take an example of cloud. 10, 15 years back, we used to say cloud was very good for rains. Today, when you wake up in the morning, your email, your WhatsApp, your Zoom, your Office 365, everything. So cloud is your de facto of touching every part of your life. I assume blockchain will remain that way. People have been talking a lot about it. It's a solution looking for problem, and a lot of those vague statements coming in. And I have seen the evolution of blockchain coming in all through. We are currently in Web 3.0, which is moving forward from Web 2, Web 1 to Web 2 and Web 3. And I think digital financial space is the one which will get heavily inclined towards technologies like DLT, distribution ledger technologies, and blockchain being the primary parent of it. This is where we will see this evaluation coming on. Yeah, so there is a lot happening across the industry. Some of it is slow, some of it is reshaping, re-evaluating, re-energizing. Will take a while or take its own course of law when the technology gets matured over a period of time. So it will take its own due course.
We have also seen certain geographies taking up it faster than some other geographies. So it's being some geographies are being spearheaded by the regulatory framework. Some geographies are being spearheaded by the market orientation. Why do you see this difference is coming from?
I think two big reasons. One is the awareness about cryptocurrencies by the governments. If I take an example of country like India or Asia Pacific, and if I just have to compare two small countries, India and Singapore, we are very different in terms of the way we operate, the way we regulate, the forward-looking approach we do. And if I have to look countries like Estonia, Gibraltar, Malta, Hungary, these are becoming, the hubs of cryptocurrencies. Take an example of a very, not so rich country like Venezuela. Bitcoin is a legal tender today there. So the government has no fear of, getting this done. Africa, certain parts of it, they are already mooling the fact of taking, crypto as a legal tender. While in countries like parts of Europe or Asia Pacific, they're still discussing this idea. And then primarily two big reasons. One is awareness. Second is, the control on the currency itself, of the decentralized nature of the currency itself. It's humongous, and the impact will be humongous. So they're still looking at how do they create their policies, lawmakers, advocacies, what could be the impact on multiple things. I think they're still like wait and watch mode and see what harm it can do or cannot do. That's the biggest reason I see the difference of adoption of cryptocurrencies in multiple countries all across.
So Now, from one side, we know the market is pushing for cryptocurrency. And then we also have seen the central banks kind of putting a ceiling, putting a control, putting a regulatory blockage. How do you see this valuation will go? How do you think saying that the value of cryptocurrency will be determined on market orientation, or whether you think saying that the regulatory framework will decide how the pricing will be done or the valuation will be done?
This is tricky actually, because the first cryptocurrency, or the use case of blockchain, was a currency called as Bitcoin, and the volatility of these currencies is purely based on supply and demand. And to give you some trivia, Bitcoin is about 21 millions, which has been mined and has been capped there. And going by the current statistics, as we know, already more than 19 million plus Bitcoins have already been mined and owned by different agencies. Now the volume of transaction has gone up, while the volatility has been going up and down all the time. And this trend will continue because of pure supply and demand situation. The chance of the significant correction, in price has to be kept in mind when and where and how it will occur. So it is up to every trader and investor to weigh themselves the potential of cryptocurrencies and the risk associated with these currencies. The long-term value of a digital currencies will be determined by many, many factors all across. Primarily, what is the real value that currency brings in on the table, and a true mass adoption into an everyday life of a human being against the traditional payment channels available to us. I think that is where the usability and safety of cryptocurrencies and other things will determine all this.
So according to you, at some point, this is going to be a legal tendering note across the globe, and then we will have markets, and the volume of the transactions will determine the value. That's what you're trying to say, is it?
Yes, it is, because a lot of hedge funds, FIs, large global
Correct,
banks
yeah.
already, accepting it as an alternative asset class, as a portfolio for hedging and portfolio for multiple other things, just like the dollar and the value and the metal, etc., etc. So people have started offering services on top of cryptocurrencies already. So yes, it's just a matter of time. It will play its role and the impact thereof.
And do you still believe in the banks or the fintechs will be the driving force?
Banks less, fintechs more, because banks are still today regulated by the government and the central board. But the crypto, the whole formalization of crypto is all about decentralization. So if I have to influence crypto, then it is not crypto, right? So I assume fintechs will be,
will drive
that further.
And how you see that the exchange, decentralized exchange will work? Now we have heard this concept about like a stock exchange. There'll be crypto exchanges, decentralized exchanges will happen. So how far you think that this will be kind of normalized and will be regularly accepted by the governments, or you believe saying that the market forces will have to take a back step, let the regulatory folks to take it forward? Well, that has been one of the largest challenges for the fintechs, even to see how are we going to exchange, what is the mode of exchanging this?
See, exchanges will remain there. It is a business model which will prevail. There are exchanges which is more like a P2P, which is a peer-to-peer transaction, selling crypto against a crypto, buying crypto against a crypto. The complexity arises when you add the fiat currency on top of it for the conversion. So exchanges will prevail. Just like any other commodity, crypto will be traded all across. Now, What is getting traded in this exchange will become the question. There is something called as stable coins. There is Bitcoin. There are, today we are talking about more than 15,000 digital currencies across the globe. I can launch my own digital currency today and can get listed on an exchange at some cost and some paperwork, etc., to be completed. My question will come back is, how do I ensure the price of my crypto remains same or goes up? So how do I ensure that people trade my coins, and they will buy coins against what? It has to be backed by something, either a real estate or a gold or a commodity, or something has to be exchanged against those. So, or a US dollar, or something has to be there, right? So these combination of these assets, is what will backed by end of the day in a fiat currency. So exchanges will prevail. Exchanges are nothing, just like a platform you have in India, NSE, BSE, stock exchange, you're buying, you're selling, you buy in morning, sell in evening, intraday, interday, whatever you do this. The exchanges will prevail all across. We don't see end of life of an exchange. What we see is these exchanges will become more autonomous depending on your combination, stop loss, what will you buy, how will you buy, what coin you wanted to buy. So today there are already AI bots available on crypto. They will give you signals on what to buy, what not to buy, depending on the calibration and the risk-taking ability you may have, or you wanted to do that. Very similar to what a stock exchange would do so. So I don't see exchanges are going anyway. I only see what is going to happen is there is a consolidation of these exchanges happen over a period of time.
Correct. So actually you brought that point into another conversation now. I have seen these accountants saying that cryptos cannot be valued, you cannot be put it as a balance sheet item, there is no FRS regulating it, because these are market driven valuations, so therefore there is no way of accounting wise valuing this, there is no economic value around it. It's basically a valuation being driven by the technologist, or it's basically demand and supply to some extent. How do you see saying that this will be getting into the accounting terms? How do you see saying that this will get into the balance sheets? How will people start looking at it? How do can I put it into the balance sheet? Okay, will that be regulated by the accounting bodies?
See, this brings back the same question again. We talked about currency need to be accepted as a legal tender in a country first. Until that is done, how do I depict this in my balance sheet? So I need to have laws around it on capital gains, short-term gains. How do I ensure, this is going to be taxed? So if I buy today a Bitcoin in US and sell it on an Indian exchange, I have the advantage of the arbitrage costing and the commissions, etc. Now,
Correct.
How will government tax me? Will they tax me as a short-term capital gain, long? So that framework is where what the government is currently working, and there is a lot of noise around it. Bill has been tabled. People have made a lot of opinions around it. So I don't see this is going to come into the financial books immediately, but it has to happen. And take another example of the carbon credits. Some years back, we used to say, how will the carbon credits come in? Today we talk about clean energy. We have a policy, we have a framework, and we are, end of the day, putting a dollar value to the carbon currency or the carbon footprint done by an organization in my balance sheet today. Now, if this can happen, similar way, cryptos can happen, but rest of it will depend on how the government create that framework and the structure towards that. Once that is done, then it can be taxed out and can be done, which is what the crypto enthusiasts or the crypto communities across the globe in various countries are talking about.
True. Now, that again brings me to another question. Now, we have seen it's all about digital being, how do I accelerate digital? How do I bring in digital into multiple industries? So now the next question I would like you to kind of give us a little more insight is to see. Now we know this is being driven by the younger generation, Gen Y, Gen Z, then the digital native they are, then the social media, what we have been using, the social platforms, and then we have little ceiling put by the government to kind of look here, guys, you can do everything you want, but then there is a framework to be given. Now, these three factors put together, what is from now onwards, what is the evolution you're seeing is going to happen, and then how quickly the acceleration of adoption is going to be, or are we seeing, say, that for next 1 or 2 years, it will move at a little slow lag pace, and then it will boom up, or from now onwards, are we going to see an exponential growth from now?
So I will put it in this way. We are late in catching the bus today, but as a population towards crypto, somewhere I read we are in the top 5 across the globe in terms of adoption and trading. In fact, we are number 4 across the globe where we are doing heavy trading all across. So one is this calibration of the greed of the human nature to make short money and quick money and easy money all across. But if we have to look at the real life use cases of how crypto is offering towards payment structures and enterprises globally adopting crypto as a legal tender to what they are selling or discussing. So adoption is already there. So we have not, while the government can make comments, but I think we have already seen adoption happening heavily since 2006, 7 to 20 now. So we've been in crypto for 10, 12, 15 years as a country. I'm talking about India especially. You have Tesla accepting Bitcoin for buying a Tesla car. And if tomorrow companies or enterprises start accepting cryptos as part of their service fees or revenue, I know one of the big fours talked about accepting cryptocurrencies as part of their services. You can pay them back in cryptocurrencies. Today, small startups are raising money not by a fiat currency, but accepting cryptos in their wallets. And then there's model of asset tokenization coming into the picture. So we're very clearly seeing the adoption happening in the mass market. It's just that the government need to take next steps in conjunction with the crypto communities all across and come to a right framework. We always go into wait and watch mode and then see what other countries are doing, especially US and Singapore and Australia and other part. And I'm a big believer of, it is bound to happen. Crypto is here to happen, just not because of the currency aspect of it, but blockchain has the real power to transform economies, remove intermediaries and give you a clean governance, what the government is very vocal about. With the right use cases and right set of technology platforms, I think the transparency and governance can go a long way all across.
So you actually brought into a very pertinent space. Now, from one side, we have seen e-commerce adoption, and on the other side, we have seen how companies are looking into distributing their services over internet, right? And I think that's where the adoption of blockchain or the cryptos also will go up, because once the crypto is being accepted as a global currency, it's easy for people who are disseminating services over digital channels, for them to accept payments as well. Am I correct?
See, again, the fear of accepting cryptos is there in the country, right? As a legal tender, as I said, until there are right guidelines by the government in place, it would be very difficult for enterprises to accept an alternate asset class for their part of services. While the ecosystem and the periphery across seems to be ready, not ready, then government is talking about CBDC coming in, a lot of stuff happening all across, but it all depends on what channel and what mode government takes in, because while it has all the positive use cases we are talking about, but if I have to see from the other side of the table, very difficult to trail down, and this money is being funded for all the wrongful criminal and other kind of activities. So how does government trace that and they lose control over there? So how do they manage all of that? It's a question to be talked about.
So on the final chapter, I actually wanted to give you.
Chandan is talking, but I think
I think I want to. So this is really very interesting conversation going on, and a lot of aspects that are new to me. But I have one question here, and I really want answer to this particular one. Is and this is from a telecom perspective. There is telecom, mobile money, and there is crypto, there is blockchain. Where do you see all of this going together? Will telecom companies adopt blockchain, and how soon that's going to be?
So telecom is already doing blockchain for various reasons. The KYCs are there already. The reconciliation across interoperability is happening on blockchain. In fact, my other company where I work with, we already have a very heavy use case where we can deploy a blockchain platform for inter-roaming agreements between various operators and the reconciliation. And trust me when I say this, I've been in telecom for 15, 20 years. The amount of money we write off in our books every year is because the reconciliation has not happened properly.
My goodness.
And there are hundreds and thousands of people sitting in multiple buildings working with multiple operators across the globe just to get the reconciliation right across various ERPs and brand driven activities, postpaid, prepaid, voice, etc., etc., etc. And blockchain is really, really useful there if it's done right and deployed properly. That's one very, very strong use case. Another use case we heard about is this, bulk SMS, which is coming as a spam.
Dissemination, yeah.
And at least I know for Government of India, TRAI has, along with IBM and Tech Mahindra and a couple of other folks, have done some use cases. I don't know how far they are successful, but yes, blockchain is really helping them there. So new use cases are emerging all across, Chandan, but as I said, it's a new technology coming in through. You don't want to retrofit a technology into what you can do without decentralization. So we need to really understand the right use case of decentralization and then apply technology towards it.
Cool.
So, Pankaj, just to add to that, I think for international trade, multi-country, multi-continent trade, blockchain has been widely accepted in other industries as well. For example, I was talking to a banker. They were saying that even for trade finance today, blockchain or this thing has been widely accepted. So what you're saying, I think, has been endorsed across industries when you're talking about international trade. Am I correct?
Yes, very much. Track and trace reconciliations are one of the major use cases in supply chain, logistics, reconciliation of accounts, books, invoice discounting, etc. Some of the very prevailing use cases across the BFSI vertical.
Pankaj, Ajith, this is seriously a very good conversation going on. I really don't want to stop you guys, and I really want this to go on and on, but unfortunately we are running out of time. So very interesting conversation. What do you say, Ajith?
It's actually very insightful, yeah, and then to touch upon multiple industries, touch upon multiple regulatory frameworks, touch upon how the market dynamics is, to have a wide spectrum of knowledge shared within this small time period was really, really impressive. And I think we have to really be grateful and thankful to Pankaj for having this session with us.
Thank you so much, Ajith. Thank you so much, Pankaj, for taking time out for this particular discussion and this particular webinar. I see a lot of value being driven by this particular interaction and will help a lot of people. Thank you so much once again for coming out, taking time out, and enriching this experience on blockchain for everybody. Thank you so much.